Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy! Hey folks, welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast. This is episode number 195, which means we have 5 more episodes until the big 200.
And we'll let everybody down.
And then we will.
That means you're old, man.
Damn it, Dennis, you stole my line.
We're going to build this all up, and then it's going to
build it up, and then it's going to be a letdown. Of course, our wives are all used to that, so give everyone else a shot at that sadness. But anyway, seriously, the title of this episode is 5 Alice Cooper songs we think you should hear. So each of us are going to pick 5 Alice Cooper songs that we like that you may or may not have heard. And, of course, in tradition with the way we do things, I'm going to do my part of the 5 songs a little different than the other 2 guys. So, because
we're all going to do them different.
Because I actually, for a change, took time and did a little research and took some notes and stuff. But before we get to that, we're going to do a concert review from the Alice Cooper shows we saw last week, and I'm sure Dennis and Bill have some album acquisitions, so Get at it, boys.
I got one. You want me to go?
Yeah, go for it.
So I was trolling around on Black Friday and almost Black Friday, which was Thursday and yesterday, so I bought a couple things online, but one of them I already got here. Which I picked up, I picked this up from Target, actually. Led Zeppelin 2.
Cool.
$12.
Oh, that's cheap.
180 gram, free shipping.
Cool.
Good deal. And then the other thing I got, too, was Les Miserables as a musical. Mm-hmm. And I have the CD version, and they have a highlights version that is on an LP. And I got that, too, but it was a CD. In the vinyl section that I was trolling through online. So I took that back already yesterday. Really? But I've got a couple more things coming. So they'll be here.
Are any of them Judas Priest?
I do not have another thing coming by Judas Priest. No. I have a version of that on LP and a version of that on CD, though.
Cool.
Very
cool.
Yep. So I got a couple things, but other than those couple things, nothing else.
Yeah, I went out for the first time ever, I think, on Black Friday. We went the place in the mall, that hard copy or whatever it was, that was the only record store in this area that was doing the record store day. So they opened at 6. Well, I'm like, they ain't going to sell that many before 6. So I go in there about 6:20. And everything that I wanted was already gone. But there was one dude in there that had a stack this fucking tall and multiples of everything. So he had everything that I wanted, and I think he's going to try to resell them on eBay or whatever. So good luck to you. I hope you lose your ass, but because I didn't get
he won't.
So then I ended up sitting in the mall for another hour while Kelly went ahead and shopped a few other places, and I sit there and almost kind of half fell asleep in the thing. So I'm just sitting there pissed. So I did get out later that day though, and I went over to Atmosphere Collectibles, which was there before, and I have never had a chance to get over there. Talk to us. Is it? Am I right? Amy? Is that right? Is her name Amy?
I have no idea.
I hate that. I'm sorry.
You got to quit doing that shit.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Listen to you.
Because I've plugged her on. I plugged them on the show before, and I have no idea who. Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, they're very nice people. It's a couple that owns this place, and got some decent records in there and stuff. So I left a couple, but I did find 5. I did get I got a really nice copy of Double Live Gonzo, Ted Nugent, which I've been trying to get for a long time. I did get Journey Captured Live. It's a really good. I was listening to that this morning.
That's cool.
It's actually a pretty decent album. So that was 2 double albums right there. I got finally found the Fix album, Shuttered Room. There's one that has a Stand or Fall or Red Skies on it. I like that. I had got a previous album by them, and it had what was the other big one? Saved by Zero. I got that one too. Um, you'll like this, guys. I got a nice copy of Midnight Madness, Night Ranger. That's one I did not have.
Yeah, I had that that's one of the first ones I got when I started rebuilding.
What are the hits on that one?
What I got? I mean, it's just like that first side.
What's not? List the 2 songs that aren't a hit.
No shit. And a Touch of Madness. When you close your eyes, chipping away. It's like, good Lord, what a packed album stacked. And I rebought a album that I previously had on 8-track when I was in high school. And this is odd. This is when I paid more than I should have for. But
well, you didn't rebuy the album then.
Well, I rebought
You bought an album version of it.
Right, but it was 8-track what I had. Devo, Freedom of Choice. And I don't know, I just always liked that. It's got the Whippet on there, and
does it have Working in the Coal Mine?
No,
but it has Satisfaction.
No,
well,
Girl You Want, Freedom of
shit.
Choice. Gates of Steel is actually it's a rocking tune. It's got some guitar in it and stuff. But it's one of those things. I had it when I was in high school, and it's like, you know what, I'm going to rebuy it. But I paid $12 for it. It's a little too much.
Other than Whip It, Satisfaction, and Working in the Coal Mine, I could not tell you a single Devo song.
100%.
I really should get on Spotify and verify why I haven't listened to any more Devo.
They were too punk for me. So
well,
that I like
it's kind of like
I like the singles, and I listened
weren't
to.
Weren't they kind of like art pop punk or something like that?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was kind of like the same Peter. It's like Peter Gabriel was the same way for me. It was like it was just too bizarre. It's like.
Well, I think they did. When they did their concerts, if I understand correctly, they kind of did the opposite of everybody else. They played their big hit first to get it out of the way so that the real fans would stick around and the radio hit fans would leave or whatever. I don't know. Stories I've heard. It's on the internet. It must be true.
Yeah, that's like I went to see that band Walk the Moon with Alex. It took me for Father's Day. Was it last year? I think it was last year. And they played the only hit they really had. I mean, the only big major hit they've had. They played, it was like song number 9 in their set. And I'm like, and it was funny because we stood there and listened to one more song, and it was just mass exodus. You could see we were in the lawn at White River, and you just see all these people get up and leave. And
they don't do that on their next tour.
No, and the crowd, like we had more. I'm sure we had more trouble leaving than the crowd did at the end because of the number of people left. So Dennis, that's Ashley and Jerome Whittington.
Ashley
is who owns and runs the Atmosphere Collectibles.
Yeah, I could have watched. Yeah, it is. I knew it was started with an A. That's why I couldn't think of it. But no,
yeah, but it's a cool little store, though. I mean, it's got some cool stuff, and then they got. I don't think their prices are bad. I mean, I think the prices are reasonable for trying to run a shop. And
they had a metal section,
quite a bit of stuff there.
I didn't go through the metal section because the first one I seen was like some kind of really hardcore metal, and I'm like, I'm really not into that. And then once I got done, bought my stuff, then I went over and I thought, I flipped it. Damn it, they had the Michael Schenker in there. I wanted that album. They had some Ace Frehley. I was like going, shit, they had some nice stuff in there. So next time, don't be such a prude and just actually go through it, and you might find some good stuff. So,
but the trouble I got into there was when you first walk in the door right by the register, there was a rack there, and those are ones that are on hold. So what I was told was if you know of something you're looking for,
sure,
if you let them know, if they get it, they'll hold it for you. And they'll call you and let you know that you have it, and they'll hold it for so many days or whatever to give you a chance to go grab it. But
that's pretty cool.
There was something I saw, and I don't remember what it was, but I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And she goes, "Yeah, that's on hold." And I said, "No, this is a rack." And she goes, "Well, that's the hold rack." And I said, "It doesn't say hold rack." And she goes, "It's on hold." And I'm like, "Come on."
But no, they're really nice people, and they actually run Southern Indiana Vinyl, whatever it is, a Facebook page.
Yeah.
And but I talked to her for a little bit afterwards, and after I bought my stuff, and told her we'd mention again on the Facebook, and she said we can also advertise on that page if we want to, no problem. But no, they're really nice people, and they're really into vinyl and music, and it's kind of a cool little place. Cool, so I'll definitely be going. I'll definitely be going back, and like I said, prices are really decent too. So
cool.
All right, so that's all for records this week. I do have one on my way, actually getting delivered today, but I'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, I got a couple things coming, but I don't have. Like
Brian Harris is bringing me a record. He's picked
yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, no biggie.
So
all right, that's all I got.
So now we'll talk about our Alice Cooper concert experience. You want to go first, Bill?
Sure. So I took my buddy Jay, who knows of Alice Cooper, never seen him before, ever. And it was one of those days. It was a Monday. It was last Monday, actually. And he had a really busy day at work. We were supposed to leave a little earlier. We got out a little late, but it was okay because it worked out. We got where we needed to be and had plenty of time to have dinner and stuff like that. But it was at Indy at the Murat Theater, which when the tickets went on sale back in, I think it was like March or April or something like that, because I bought them a long time ago. I got a code, so a pre-sale code. So I bought what I thought was second row balcony tickets. Well, I forget they're all different. Like that one that we went to, Alan, down in Louisville at the Palace, we sat in the balcony there. And it was like, I don't know what it was called. Anyway, up in Indy, they have a balcony, and then they have a royal balcony area, where the royal balcony area is like a half a deck, like 2 steps lower. So I was actually up in the upper balcony, not in the royal balcony, which I thought that's where I was. So I was not actually in the second row. I was in the second row of the upper balcony, which ended up really being the 5th row of the balcony. So it wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, in all, but I learned a lesson. I mean, I just didn't call it the right thing. Right. I didn't get it right. Anyway, we were right dead center. From a visual perspective, it couldn't been any better. Cool stuff. I mean, I've seen him. That was the 4th time. The shows are never the same. I mean, I've never seen a show that's the same. I mean, he does the same shtick at most shows, where he, does the guillotine act and that kind of stuff, but it's not with the same song necessarily and that kind of stuff. And I think that you guys have seen him a couple times too, and I think it's been the same way with you guys. But musically, they sounded really good. Alice sounded, you couldn't hardly hear him at all for the first song or two, and then after that, they kind of got it figured out. And we've had some email. We've exchanged a few things about how that worked out, because I didn't understand how that worked. If they do a sound check, why do a sound check and it sounds okay at the sound check, or at the sound check you make sure Alice sounds like shit. So I guess I don't know.
Well, one thing also to consider, other than what we discussed through our text messages, was Alice probably did not come to sound check. Chuck or somebody else probably sound checked his microphone.
Oh, that's probably true. Yeah, so that makes sense.
That's like when my sound company did that the gig when Pop Evil was in town. Their singer never came out for sound check. Somebody else in the band, or his why a singer needs a tech for his microphone, I don't know, but his tech, somebody else sound checked it is what I'm getting to. So.
Plus, you're also sound checking to an empty room, and as soon as you put people in there, it changes the acoustics completely. So there's always a learning, or there's a little bit of a curve when that first starts out. You got to do some adjustments.
Yeah, but they weren't even in the same building. Yeah, I mean, from a vocal perspective, I mean, that was it.
No, we had the same issue. We had the same issue.
We'll talk about that. You couldn't hear it at all. It was bad.
All right.
Anyway, so yeah, it was a great show. Hour and a half. I thought he had an opener. He didn't. So he came out supposed to be at 7:30. Came out at 7:45. Ended at 10:15. Is that right?
No, 9:15.
9:15. Yeah. So we were home like by 10, something like that. 10:15, something like that. Was really pretty cool. But it was good. It was a really good show. I really enjoyed it. Nita Strauss did a great job. Mm-hmm. There was a guy standing on the front row that she would come over and play right in front of him, and you could see him look up, and he'd go around back at other people and have this great big grin on his face, and then she'd come over and play right above him, and he'd look up, and I'm like, you bastard.
He was the one with the phone.
Yeah, I don't know if he could find it though. He's a pretty big dude. Anyway, so but it was a good show. I enjoyed it. I would and actually Jay said he would definitely go back. So he said it was really pretty impressive, and I said, yeah. I said it was cool. So I'm sure you guys got the exact same show I got verbatim. The thing I like about Alice, and I think we've talked about this before, is he doesn't talk during the show at all. At the very end of the show, and it's funny because at least here in Indy, he said, okay, so now I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to introduce the band, and then we're going to be done. And he was just like, this is how it's going to work. And that was it. It was good. Definitely worth the money, and puts on a great show. And I'd go.
Let
I'd go again.
Let me ask you this: were there any songs in the set list that were a surprise to you, or that you felt were a treat?
Dead Babies was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if that's the name of the song or not, but I thought that was
the
name of the song. Yeah. That I didn't expect. I have quit looking at set lists ahead of time just because I'm tired of. Yeah, I know you do. And I don't know why, because it just ruins it. Anyway, so I didn't do that because I've been doing that for shows, and then you get to the show and you're like, oh, I know what the next song is. Oh, the next song, and it just ruins for me, it ruins the mystery of what's going to happen and stuff like that. Because I don't leave early anyway. I know people that do. They leave whenever they know the encore is coming, and they just book. And I'm like, if you're going to be here for this long, why not stay for the last two songs? You're not going to get out that much earlier. You're really going to leave like whatever. But yeah, that was. I didn't realize he opened with "Feed My Frankenstein," which I thought was pretty cool. That was a pretty good opener. Once I finally understood what they were playing, what he was doing. Musically, it sounded like that, but vocally, I'm like, I don't know what this is really. And then finally you could get it. They were getting a little closer. I'm like, okay, I think I can get it. And then the Frankenstein guy came out. So I kind of like figured that was probably it. But the show part was cool as hell. It was Alice's Castle or Alice's,
whatever.
Something about like the Nightmare Castle.
Nightmare Castle. I don't know, something like that. Yeah, it was cool. Yep.
Yeah.
I texted Dennis during the show, and I'm like, we need this stage for the hounds.
It was a cool stage. It was probably one of the better stages that I've seen of Alice.
Oh, the lighting was cool.
Lighting was cool. The castle part was really cool. I mean, he's a 71-year-old man. He's climbing them stairs and climbing back on that ladder back behind it, doing this. It's just amazing the job he does, So, but yeah, I enjoyed it.
The best part for me though is when they really drop the curtain and the guys go to grab the curtain to pick the curtain up, and they're wearing those black capes or whatever, and they're wearing those helmets like Darth Vader helmets. This one guy keeps coming off, and he puts it back on. It falls back on. He puts it back on. And finally just tucks it under his arm and grabs the kind
of like Spaceballs instead of Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly like it was. Exactly. I was laughing. I was elbowing Jay. I'm like, check that dude out. He's like, it was funny. Pretty funny. All right, that's my review. I'd give it a 9 out of 10, only because of the sound thing. Otherwise, it was a great show.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, yeah, it's always good.
Yep.
Your turn, Dennis.
Basically, we got the same show that Bill got. I did look at the set list beforehand, and I was surprised. There were some really good deep cuts in there. I did like I said, I like the stage. I thought that's been the best I've seen Alice, I think now 4 times myself, and that was my 4th time. And I like the stage probably the best of anything that he's done so far. We had a little bit longer problem with the sound. It was extremely mid-range muddy. Even the drums, there was no crispness to the cymbals. It was just a big glob of sound, and it was like I said, his vocals got buried, and it wasn't until Muscle of Love until it really cleared up. It was I was kind of just that was about 5 songs, about 5 songs into it. So it took forever. I kept telling Kelly, I was like, man, they got to get this fixed. Even she, not knowing sound, she was like, going, that's really muddy sounding. I'm like, oh yeah. But it finally, about midpoint of that song, it finally just all of a sudden like somebody flipped the switch, and then the rest of the show was really good. Like I said, I like the different, like you said, he does the guillotine situation, but it was a complete different, of course, his daughter, she's been doing that nurse.
That's not his daughter.
That wasn't Calico?
That's his wife.
Oh, that was his wife.
That's his wife, yeah. His wife has actually been on the last several tours because Calico, I think I know she's doing the Beasto Blanco thing with Chuck Garrick, but I don't know what else she's got going on, but yeah.
The last time I seen him in Evansville, well, actually up at Indy, that was her. That was Calico. But I think it was.
I don't think it was. With Motley Crue? No, I don't think it was.
That was his?
Okay, no, with Motley Crue, that was Cheryl as well.
Yeah, because actually in Indy, he even introduced her as his wife.
Okay. Well, yeah.
He said it's the love of my life. And Cheryl and whatever, yeah. So he introduced.
Well, the fact that he gave her
I told Jay that it was. I thought it was Calico, and it wasn't.
The fact that he gave her a big old mouth kiss up on the top of the castle should have been your hint. That's not Calico.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think yeah.
But anyway, it was.
At one point, I said, I don't really think that's her.
But I did like the way that instead of doing the nurse thing, which that's been the theme for the last few tours, is she was in that kind of like the nanny, and then you're bringing the dead babies in for the. I mean, I'm not really giving anything away because the tour is probably done now.
The tour ended last night.
Okay, so people who did not see it, I'm not messing up your surprise, but yeah, it was basically. She had this old timey push cart, and the baby, and he did the dead babies and was ready to hit it with a big butcher knife, and a meat cleaver, and that's when they grab him and put him in the guillotine. So yeah, it was. I just like the way he incorporates all those songs in there. And one of the songs he did was one of my highlights, and it's one of my songs, and we'll talk about that later on our 5 songs. But no, it was once again, 71 years old, and he's out there just kicking it. I mean, kicking it hard. For all you younger people who can't do a whole show, or you can't, you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, just go see Alice. Learn something. So, yeah, Alan, go ahead.
If they were only listening to us.
If they were listening to us. They're like our children, they don't listen. Or they're like our wives, they don't listen unless we say something that pisses them off. Then they heard us loud and clear.
I was like Bill. I was in the balcony, and the first balcony, and I was center, and I was front row. So,
I was going to ask where your seat was.
Dennis did not stand up the entire night till the very end when I clapped.
I didn't have to stand up either.
Well, Alan had to stand up because Alan was in the 8th row, dead center. Dead center. I mean, Alice was right there. It was awesome.
I saw you, and then Brian was over a little bit.
Yeah, Brian was off to my left a few rows, and he was a few rows closer, I believe.
How much were those tickets?
I think with fees and everything, I ended up paying like $94. It really wasn't.
Yeah, because
for today's ticket prices, that was a really good deal.
Yeah, mine was $50 up on the balcony.
For whatever reason, I don't know why I confused myself because I was thinking, it said Orchestra C, row 8, and I was thinking, for whatever reason, I was thinking balcony. So I thought I was going to be back up there with Dennis or whatever. And then when we went in, the lady was like, "Oh no, you're down here," and I'm like, "Oh hell yeah!"
Yeah, Orchestra is on the bottom. Then they have tier 1 and then tier 2.
Yeah, I just didn't pay that much attention when I got the tickets.
And tier 2 in the fucking center is, talk about you get altitude sickness. It's really bad. You're fucking up.
Well, it's the old National Events Plaza, so even the shittiest seat in there is still not a bad seat.
No.
So what is that? Is that the old Victory?
No, it is the old center.
The old what?
It used to be called the center.
Yeah. Where the old Vandenberg Auditorium was. Remember that?
Oh, okay.
It's across the street from the Civic Center.
It's right across the street from right across from the Ford Center, and then the Victory's down on the corner. There's that 3 units right there together, kind of. But yeah, the center's about 2,200 seat, I'd say probably.
I couldn't tell you.
I think it's around 2,200 seats.
Couldn't tell you.
It was pretty full. So.
There was one seat that I was supposed to sit in. I was in that seat, so I'm good.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know what was going on the floor below us, but the balcony was full.
Yeah,
there wasn't an empty seat up there.
Well, I think the old National Events Plaza was pretty full. Once the show started, I never looked back behind me to see what was going on.
Yeah, I didn't either. I don't care.
Yeah. All right.
But so anyway, it seemed like it was pretty full to me. So the highlights of the show to me, Constrictor, Trash, Raise Your Fist and Yell are 3 of my top 5 Alice Cooper albums. And we got 2 songs off of the Constrictor album, He's Back, The Man Behind the Mask, and Teenage Frankenstein. So those were real treats for me. Roses on White Lace off of Raise Your Fist and Yell. And, of course, he always does Poison because that was his biggest hit. And he also did Bed of Nails.
Yeah.
And, of course, they touched on the Welcome to My Nightmare album. There was some stuff off of there. The only thing they didn't play, Brutal Planet is my other top Alice Cooper album. They didn't play anything off of that, which doesn't surprise me because for the past several tours, they, a lot of the tours, they either played Brutal Planet during the show or they started the show with Brutal Planet.
Right.
So that, I got songs from 4 of my 5 top Alice Cooper albums, so for me the whole night was a treat, And there were some other deep cuts. There's a song called My Stars, and that might be off of Paranormal. I'm not sure. You know,
no, My Stars
I think
is off.
it is.
No, it's
Yeah.
My Stars is an old album. I was just looking at that.
I was going to say if it's an old Alice Cooper, because I didn't really get into Alice Cooper until he was already solo, because Nightmare was my introduction to Alice Cooper. So, you know, that old stuff, a lot of it, if it's a deep cut, I won't know it. You know, and I believe he did do at least one song off of Paranormal. My friend Steve Bryant was with me, and he had said something about it. But a couple of other highlights for the show.
My Stars is off of School's Out.
School's Out. Okay,
yeah, that was 1972.
Yeah, good Lord.
That's a debut record.
Yeah, no, that's not the debut record.
That's the first record that actually started.
That's the first single. That was the first single. Yeah.
Yeah.
Something that first got them recognition, but they did a few albums before that.
Yeah, there was actually Pretty's for You, 69, Easy Action, 1970, Love It to Death, 71, Killer was in 71, and then School's Out. So that's there was 5th album.
Wow. I knew there were quite a few.
Good education today.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Oh, we actually know something.
So other, well, you probably pulled Wikipedia up just like I did.
One third, two thirds of us did.
Yeah, but I can't say anything about the show that Dennis and Bill hasn't already said, but a couple of other highlights for me was being 8th row dead center when the $1 Billion Babies Cannon came out.
Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey.
I caught a couple of these. So I gave one to Brian Harris and I gave one to Soren Laufer. And Soren is the kid that I went to Indianapolis to see Iron Maiden with.
Right.
Cool. And Soren said, "Hey, I got this. Would you like it?"
Cool.
So after the show was over and all you yahoos were home and in bed, I was still sitting in the room down by the stage waiting for the band to come out.
Cool.
You know, obviously Alice Cooper did not come out. He does not come out for things like that.
Right.
But he does. They also had passes like that instead of saying band guest, it said VIP. You know, and if you had the VIP, you had the chance to go backstage.
Sure.
You got your picture taken with Alice. He'd sign one thing for you, and you know.
He's on tour, and that's where he makes money.
You know,
that's where he makes money, and that's I don't blame him.
But they also have another VIP experience, which Soren did before the show. You got to go tour the stage and check out the guillotine and talk to all the band and stuff. So that was pretty cool. Shout out to Soren for giving me that. Ryan Roxy came out for about 10 minutes and talked with those of us that were out there. And then other than that, nobody else came out. I'm not surprised Nita didn't come out because during School's Out, some drunk jackass pushed his way down to the front, and those balloons that's got the confetti in them that they send out in the audience, that guy hit that thing, and it hit her microphone and smacked her in the mouth and busted her lip.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, she wasn't in a good mood by the time School's Out was over. But she was a trooper, and she finished the song, and she stayed on stage, when they did their bows and everything. But I wasn't surprised at all that she didn't come out. I kind of was surprised that Chuck and the other guys, Glenn Sobel and was it Tommy Hendrickson?
Yeah, Sobel's a monster on a drum set. Too.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
all of those, and he's fun to watch.
They're
too.
all great. They're all great players.
They're very great.
Yeah,
if you watch the Hired Gun show, that's what Alice says. He goes out and he finds who are the best players, and he figures out a way to hire them.
Doing stuff. He's entertaining to watch. He fits in really good.
So yeah, that tour wrapped up. We're recording this on December 1st. That tour wrapped up last night somewhere here in America. But the Alice Cooper band is on break until sometime in February, and they're going to do 5 or 6 dates in Australia.
Cool.
So all our Aussie friends, if you get a chance to go see the show, go see it, because the set list will be different. Maybe.
Are they continuing the same tour?
I don't know if they're continuing the same tour. I just went on Alice Cooper's official website and looked at the tour dates to see how many dates were left on this tour, because I knew it was pretty close to the end.
Got you. Okay. Cool.
And there you have it, our review of this Old Black Eyes Returns tour, or what's it called? Old Black Eyes is back. That's what it is. Yeah.
Right.
Which is funny because he's never really left. I mean, other than the 1983 to 1986 hiatus, he's always been doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's not retired or done a farewell tour that I know of, or 14 of them, or 12, or he hasn't signed a contract saying that he would never tour again. And then,
true.
Well, now speaking of that, if Motley Crue doesn't come back and call this the breach of contract tour, I'm gonna be pissed.
They need to definitely they can sell some T-shirts with that on there.
Yeah. They are going out too. They're doing. I did see something too after we saw that show on Facebook that I guess they're going to do a short tour with the Vampires too. I saw that they're taking that somewhere. I don't know exactly where it's going to be.
Yeah, I saw that as well. But that won't last very long.
But I'm saying, no, he doesn't sit still very long.
Right. Now going back to Motley Crue this morning, it was this morning, maybe on Instagram. I haven't been up very long. Lizzie Borden posted an image that showed Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Poison, Lizzie Borden. So everybody was like, "Oh my God, is Lizzie going to tour?" And someone asked Mitch LaFon, and Mitch was like, "No." So I don't know.
Michael Sweet wants to jump on that train too.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that anybody from that era would like to jump on that.
Yeah.
Because playing in an arena, a 30-minute set before Motley Crue would be much better than playing in the Mercury Ballroom for 500 people.
Exactly.
So are they doing arenas or are they doing stadiums? Because those are different.
I have no idea.
I thought it was a stadium tour.
I think it's going to be big time.
I use the word arena because that's the word that popped into my head.
Oh, okay.
I bet they're going to do like with.
I'd read it's like the Guns N' Roses thing.
Yeah, Guns N' Roses. I was going to mention that.
Probably stadiums and that kind of shit.
Unless Vince Neil gets one of them vocal smoothing pedals, I don't even think I'm going to go to a show.
Well, I'm not going.
But of course, I say that now, and I might get a wild hair up my ass. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go. What the fuck?
I think though
I would go to the openers.
Money that they're asking, they're going to have to do stadiums because you ain't going to promoter's not going to make their money back.
Right,
they're not going to fill a stadium
for 3.5 million. You're not going to make any money. They're going to have to be these big shows and festivals and stadiums and. Fuck that.
I don't think that tour is capable of carrying a stadium.
We also know that Nikki Sixx likes to talk out his ass. So
yeah, I mean, that's the only thing I'm thinking of too. I don't think that people are going to be filling a 65,000 seat stadium,
right,
or 40,000 seat stadium to see Motley Crue that was just out 4 years ago. Yeah. The Guns N' Roses reunion thing that ended up in a stadium was different because those guys hadn't played together.
That was something that people were dying to see.
Right.
It'd be at least 10 years since they did it. I would say that it would be more, and people would be more wanting to go see it. But like you said, 4 years.
Yeah, nobody. I mean, I just don't see it. And Def Leppard's tour out every summer.
Every summer, and in the same show
set every summer. I mean, it's not going to be different.
Same set list.
It's not going to be different. I mean, I just don't see it. I could be wrong, but
one thing I will say about Poison on the tour, when I saw them at Rocklahoma, I was surprised at the order of the songs they played, because I was expecting either Talk Dirty or Nothing But a Good Time to be the show closer, but they played Talk Dirty dead in the middle of the set, and not far after they played Nothing But a Good Time. They played Kiss's Rock and Roll All Night as their show closer. I'm like, what the fuck, dudes?
That's what they've done the last couple of times.
You guys have enough of your own bona fide hits. You don't need to close with a cover song.
No, that's what I've seen them do the last couple of times.
At least, if you're going to close with a cover song, at least close with your real popular one, the Loggins Messina one. So anyway... This is an Alice Cooper show, not a Motley Crue, Poison, Lizzie Borden,
but it's all
Michael
the same
Sweet,
genre.
whatever.
We're going to get back there. So let's talk about, we're talking about, what are we doing now?
5 Alice Cooper songs that we think you should hear.
All right.
And I'm going to throw you under the bus. Go first, Bill.
Okay, so I did mine. I am an Alice Cooper fan. I like Alice. I love the live shows. I do not sit around and listen to Alice Cooper records if ever. I mean, I have a few Alice Cooper records, but not very many. But I do know the songs that I like, so that's what I went with. So, and they're from really live stuff that I've heard. So, and this is I did not have mine in order, so I just put 5 on the list, right? So the first one I have is "Under My Wheels" by Alice Cooper. I think that's a great song. It's got a good riff, and that's it for me. "Under My Wheels," off of Killers, one of the songs you were talking about, Alan.
There you go.
Go ahead, Dennis.
Awesome. All right, so I didn't go in order, but I went in order as far as the earliest to the latest. And you're going to find out that I'm an old Alice Cooper fan as far as I like all of his older stuff. I don't get into the newer stuff that much. It's okay. It's just, I like the older stuff. So
you could have just stopped that I am old.
No, So my first one comes from the 1971 Love It to Death album, and it's the Ballad of Dwight Fry. I think that's a great song. You're going to find out most of my songs are these kind of weird songs, but that's where Alice shines. His vocals when he does these things, they creep. I mean, they'll give you a chill. They got a lot of personality to him. That's what I like about him. And when he does this live, I mean, it's just crazy to watch him do that, because usually the straight jacket, and it's just. I love it. It's one of my favorite songs. So, and I think everybody should hear that song. It's a good introduction to it. All right.
Well, your very first pick will be a hit with the guy that I went to the concert with, Stephen Bryant, because I do believe that is his all-time favorite Alice Cooper song.
Oh, it's a great song.
That's a great song, yeah.
It is.
All of my songs are off my top 5 albums, so I just kind of went in reverse chronological order from when they were released. My first pick is off the Brutal Planet album, which came out in 2000. It's the song "Sanctuary," which it's kind of a fast-driven song, and I think Dennis, you might like the Brutal Planet album.
Because, I do like some of that. Yeah,
because the whole theme of that album is the darkness of society kind of today. Mm-hmm. It talks about domestic violence in the song "Take It Like a Woman." The song "Blow Me a Kiss" talks about prejudice. Right. It's the little thing, psychopathic behavior, which that song is funny. One of the lines in that song is, "And if you ever ask me how I got my name, I'll kill you," or something. But
that's cool.
Songs about war, school shootings, and stuff like that. Some of the people on that album, Ryan Roxy was on guitar, Bob Marlette played bass and keyboard, Eric Singer was on the drums, and some session music on that album was done by Phil X, who is now guitar player for Bon Jovi. A song I'm going to give an honorable mention to on that song is the song "It's the Little Things," because it's basically shit that pisses me off, and if you don't stop doing it, I'm going to cut you.
There you go.
Okay.
So, there's my first 2 of the 10 songs that I'm going to discuss.
When we're doing 5?
Because yes, but my 5 songs, there's an honorable mention on each album. I told you I was doing it different. I figure if Dennis can change
different,
if Dennis can change the rules on his, then I'm going to change the rules on mine.
Yeah, I only got 50, so I'm good.
Whatever. I got 5. I'm out. I've got actually more.
All right,
than
Bill,
that,
your next one.
All right, so my next one. The first time I saw Alice was the Inside Out tour, or From the Inside tour. Which one was it?
From the Inside.
From the Inside.
Yeah, From the Inside. Yeah, From the Inside. I always called it the Inside Out tour, and I don't know why, but I know that's not right. Anyway, that's the. So I picked, and I like Alice's ballads. I think he does a really cool job of being a deranged, weird, freakish kind of thing. Right. But from a ballad perspective, he's got a great voice, and they're really good ballads. So I picked off of that album. I picked "How You Gonna See Me Now."
Great song.
And I think it's a great song, and that was my next pick. So there you go.
Wasn't that co-written by Bernie Taupin?
I listened to the record, and
I think it is.
I did not do in-depth.
Well, don't look it up now, Dennis. It's your turn.
Okay. All right. So anyway, my number 2 is from 1971 Killer album, and it's "Desperado." I think that's another one of those kind of creepy it's just, I like the way like I said, it's not really a ballad, but it's just, I don't know, it's Alice, and I like it a lot. So that's my number 2.
Man, you guys are batting 1,000 so far. Neither one of you've said a song that I don't like.
There's very few songs that he does that I don't like. So
Yeah.
that's
He picks good musicians.
Yeah.
He's a good songwriter. He picks good people to help him write songs.
Right.
Which, speaking of people that helps write good songs, the next song I picked was House of Fire off of the 1989 album Trash, and that song was co-written by Joan Jett.
Cool.
But the Trash album, the majority of that album was co-written by Desmond Child.
Cool.
It also includes John Bon Jovi, Steve Bader, Steven Tyler, Kane Roberts, who left the Alice Cooper's band in 1988, but still wrote and recorded for the Trash album. Joan Jett, Diane Warren, John Bon Jovi, Richie Sambora, John McMurray. Those were also others that were on that album. The whole album, from a pop rock standpoint, that album it's almost perfection. Side note about the Trash album, my first Alice Cooper show was on December 16th, 1989 at Gruger Hall in Essen, Germany, and the openers were Brittany Fox and Great White. And my biggest memory of that show was we were down on the floor. I bought one of my coworkers, Vincent Carpenter, I bought him a ticket if he would drive me to the show. And because he was a big Great White fan, we missed Brittany Fox. We came in just as they were finishing up girls' school.
Yeah.
So I was kind of disappointed that and that goes back to it says the show starts at 7:30. Start the fucking show at 7:30. Don't start the opener at 6. But anyway, but we were down on the floor, and during the Great White show, or during Great White's performance, there was a huge wave, and somebody stepped on my foot, and I went down.
Oh, wow.
And if the guy that was with me hadn't reached down and grabbed me when he did, I may have gotten trampled. So I was like, dude, we got to get up in them seats. I'm terrified. So I saw Alice Cooper from my first Alice Cooper show was almost my last concert ever.
And you weren't in the same physical stature you are today. Is that correct?
That is correct. I weighed about 120 pounds, soaking wet. And I was
that has a lot to do with it too.
I was actually a little bit shorter because from the time when I joined the Air Force at 18, I was 5'4", and by the time I got out, I was 5'6". So I was still growing when I went in. My honorable mention for the Trash album is "I'm Your Gun." It's the very last song on the album, and it's another one of those. It's kind of a humorous song to me, but it's a great song. So there's my number 2 and 2.1. How's that?
Cool.
Good deal, man. All right, so my number 3 pick is $1 Billion Babies. Just a cool song. It's one of those, another Alice, just kind of bizarre, weirdo kind of thing. And he does it. He's done it every time I've seen him, and it's a staple. And holding up your $100 Alice bill. But that's it. That's a good record. The entire record is good as well. So, but that's my pick. That's number 3, $1 Billion Babies.
All right. So my number 3 comes off the 1973 album $1 Billion Babies, and it's probably one of my other favorite songs with him. But it's "Hello, Hurray." I think that's a great fucking anthem kind of song.
I had that down, and I decided to go with the other one.
It's a big song. It sounds big. Yep. It gets you going. It makes my blood pump.
Man,
that's a great.
We're
song.
Gonna have a great Alice Cooper playlist.
Oh, I know.
Sounds like it.
I want you to send me all those songs, or I've been writing them down. So send me all you guys the stuff, and I will make a Spotify playlist with this. So cool. But that's my number. I've got another song I'll talk about here in a minute after Alan.
All right, my third pick is off of 1987's "Raise Your Fist and Yell," and it is "Roses on White Lace," which they did do on the show, on the tour show, whatever. The personnel on this album are Kane Roberts. And again, it says he left the band in 1988, but did some work on Trash. He did some guitar work and backing vocals there. Kip Winger, which we know from the band Winger. He also played bass, did some backing vocals, and he played keyboards on the song Gale. Paul Taylor played keyboards, and that was the second and final album he appeared on. And Ken Mary played on this, and this was the only album that he drummed on. And if I recall correctly, Ken Mary was the drummer on the Trash tour. I'm not sure because I had talked to Eric Singer because for the longest time I thought Eric Singer was the drummer on the Trash tour, but when I had him at my Kiss Expo, he said that wasn't him. So my honorable mention for the Raise Your Fist and Yell album is the song Freedom. That song is the only single and video released from the Raise Your Fist and Yell album. So it's your turn, Bill.
All right, back to me.
I want y'all to know, for those that are listening, Dennis has actually muted his phone before he started making noise in the background.
Well, that's because he's on his phone.
That's because he's on his phone.
Yeah, I muted his headset because he's on his phone. Okay, so I'm going to stick with the theme, but I'm going to stick with Trash, but I'm going to pick the popular hit because I love that song, and live it's bad as hell. I'm picking Poison. That's my number. That's number 4, and now you're on mute, so nobody can hear you.
Pop rock perfection.
Pop rock perfection fit right in the mold, man.
I'm going to tell you right now, when I decide that I'm ready to make my multi-platinum album, I'm calling Desmond.
Right.
Desmond, I know you don't know me from shit, but write me a fucking song.
But you know what? The amazing thing about it, though, is I have one of his records, and then I've heard some of his other solo stuff. It's not the same.
Yeah,
There's not a hit to be found on that stuff. I mean, it's like...
Yeah, it is amazing that somebody that is that good a songwriter cannot record a good song. Well, no. And I won't say he can't record a good song, but he can't record a popular song.
No, I mean, yeah. I mean, the record I have, I've listened to it thinking, oh, this is going to have a couple of, probably songs I didn't realize were hits or whatever. No, not really. It's just like, just bizarre to me. Yeah. I don't get it. All right, that's it. That's for me. That's number 4.
All right. So, sorry, I had to take a phone call. Okay. So anyway, my number 4 is off the 1973 $1 Billion Baby album again, and it's Elected. I think that song is so cool. I got something here too. I had read this a long time ago, and I found it again. And they were talking about whenever Elected came out in '72, Alice had run into John Lennon, and that was to me like the greatest poke. He said something when Elected came out, that was to him like the greatest poke to the eye of politics. He came to listen to the record at the office in New York, and he kept bringing in like, you got to hear this record. One time he's walking out, and then I'm walking in. He goes, hey, John, how are you doing? He says, Alice, great record. Then he says, Paul would have done it better. And I went, well, of course he would. He's Paul McCartney. And but the fact that he liked that album was a big deal. And cool. But while I was reading this, I got to read you this too real quick because this is an Alice Cooper thing. But this is the funniest story I think I've ever heard. It said Alice was sitting in backstage at the 1974 Grammys when Bernie Taupin and John Lennon were back there. Well, this is Brian. He was standing around Brian Wilson, and Brian Wilson was having one of his meltdowns at that point and mental issues. And so during the conversation, he kept looking out at Brian at the corner of his eye, and he kept staring at John Lennon. So finally, Brian came up to Alice and bent down and whispered, said, Alice, can you introduce me to John Lennon? And he's like, I can't believe that these two men had never met. So they were virtually neck and neck in the 60s, the greatest bands on the planet. So anyway, he says, okay, well, so he goes over there and he says, hi. He goes, I merely said, Brian Wilson, this is John Lennon. John Lennon, this is Brian Wilson. Said Lennon was very polite and said things to him like, hello, Brian, always wanted to meet you. I admire your work. And Paul and I considered Pet Sounds one of your best albums. Brian thanked him and walked away, which at that point, John Lennon went back to his conversation like nothing had happened. 10 minutes later, Brian came by our table again, leaned into Bernie, whispered something in his ear, and then Bernie went over to John Lennon and said, John Lennon, this is Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson, this is John Lennon. And basically had this, basically saying the same things, again. Said, soon as Brian walked away, John looked at both of us and then walked over and casually said, I've met him 100 times. He's not well, Isn't that funny, though? But anyway, because, John was one of those people, he hung out with them, with the Vampires, at times whenever he was in town and stuff. So, I'm sure that Alice has got a lot of good stories about John Lennon. But I thought that was really neat because John really liked that album and liked the song a lot. So, Elected.
Could you imagine being a guy in a still thinking about the work that Alex is doing right now at the, with the Pacers, and he took us, we did a tour last week, and we went down and he showed us where they put the artists and this kind of stuff, which is really kind of cool. But could you imagine being in a room and all of a sudden you're in there with Alice Cooper, and then you end up with John Lennon walking in and Paul McCartney, and all of a sudden you're sitting there. I mean,
this room is stacked with talent.
I think eventually you just stand there and look around and go, "Wow, what the hell am I doing here?" I mean, we've talked about. It's kind of funny. I was telling somebody the other day about I have people's phone numbers or email addresses in my phone. That are people that not everybody has. I mean, because of the show and and stuff like that, which is not. It's not any like gigantic person, but still for us, I think it is. And it's just funny to all of a sudden you're standing there and you're thinking about that. You're like, I am standing in the room with people that have sold multiple millions of records, not like 50.
Exactly. All righty.
Very ironic.
All right. Last song.
All right.
Okay.
No, not last. Whoa, stop. Whoa.
You still got your
I haven't done my 4.
Alan's
too bad.
This is my show, bitches.
Alan's still got 4.
We're passing you up.
All right. My number 4 is the song Trick Bag off of the 1986 album Constrictor. And a lot of fans pan this album because of the synth, the synth keyboards and the electric drums. That shit doesn't bother me. I'm a teenager in the 80s. Synth and electric drums is part of the music scene, so it doesn't bother me as much as it bothers others. This is the first Alice Cooper album to feature Kane Ribbett. First album to feature Kane Roberts on guitar, Kip Winger on bass, and the only one to feature David Rosenberg on drums. And I have not done any research to see who David Rosenberg is, because on the Wikipedia page, his name did not have a hyperlink, so I didn't Google it.
He's probably not around anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably going to find out that he's been the wrecking crew for a bunch of heavy metal and hard rock, something or another. Probably. Good. Bill's going to take a note on that. That's funny. Yep. So we've got something coming out of this. And this album peaked at 59 on Billboard's top pop albums. It was his first album after he went on his 3 years of seclusion. After the Dada, I believe Dada was the one that came out in 83. My honorable mention on this album is the song Crawlin', and Trick Bag and Crawlin' follow one another on side 2 if you're a record owner of the Constrictor album.
Cool.
So now, Bill, stop writing. Do your number 5.
Oh, do my number 5. Okay, my number 5. If you're giving this to somebody that's never heard Alice Cooper, that's the intent. And to get them engaged in Alice Cooper, I picked Schools Out because that is the finale. That is the Alice Cooper song for me that everybody knows. I mean, you don't know. How do you not know that song? And it's just it's a great song. And it's his first hit from 1972, and just has lasted the test of time. And you can go to any high school graduation or any high school party and they play Schools Out, and you can get at the end of every year at every school in America, they play Schools Out. So, I mean,
well, here's something that's funny. My cousin had this album on 8-track, and he had one of those boom boxes that took like 42 D batteries.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So on the school bus on the way home from the last day of school every year, man, we was cranking that song on 8-track, man. That's pretty funny shit right there. Yep. That's old school Schools Out.
Exactly.
Cool.
All right. So my last one is I'm gonna pull an Allen. It's a double. But anyway, it's from 1975. Welcome to My Nightmare album. Probably is, next to Ballad of Dwight Fry, is my favorite song, and he actually played it at the concert Friday night, or not Friday night, but Wednesday night. And it's Steven. I think Steven is really. It's one of those ones that's gut wrenching. It's man, his voice. I mean, it's just a perfect song. And you got Ezrin, all the orchestrated parts of it. You got the harps, the everything else. It's a great song. But to listen to Steven, you have to listen to the next song, which is the Awakening, and it's kind of it kind of brings that out. That song kind of continues through that song to Escape, and Escape, it's a complete different song, but those two together is kind of like long play for, what I'm saying? It's kind of that it has to go together, So
it's foreplay and long time.
Yeah, long time is what I was saying, but But anyway, it's a great pair of songs, and like I said, Alice, he shines at his creepiness, and that's that's what I like. Those, I mean, he does have some other great rockin' tunes and some stuff that's kind of tongue in cheek, but I like when Alice is Alice. I like the creepiness, the disturbed.
Well, that tongue in cheek is absolutely Alice.
Sure.
But I think the cool part about it is the flip side is he does that stuff that just freaks you out, and then you have the Only Women Bleed and those kind of things that are just
how
like,
you gonna see me now, and
how you gonna see me now? It's like, oh, that twisted bastard.
And don't forget You and Me.
Yeah, exactly.
He did You and Me on the Muppets with Miss Piggy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah. It's just
it
is
bizarre as hell.
Well rounded.
But I like creepy Alice. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, Dennis, your pick segues right into mine really well, because Welcome to My Nightmare came out in 1975, and my top pick off of that album is Cold Ethel.
Good song.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a song about fucking a dead corpse that you've had in the refrigerator. This was Alice's first album without the Alice Cooper Band. It's a concept album, is a journey through the nightmares of a child named Stephen. It peaked at number 5 on the U.S. Billboard 200. Dick Wagner played electric and acoustic guitars and did some vocals. Steve Hunter was electric and acoustic guitars. Prakash John on bass, and that's another one of those names that I've never heard, and it didn't have a hyperlink, so I didn't look it up.
Right.
And Penty Whitey Glenn on drums.
You can't lie about that.
Back in the days when you could call people names like that. And my honorable mention. I
think you can still say Whitey. You just can't say anything else.
Yeah. I'm going to start going by the name of Cracker. But my honorable mention on this album is, it's one of those tongue-in-cheek songs, some folks. Right. Now, when I hear this song, I think of that frog on Looney Tunes that's got the top hat and he's singing and Hello My Baby and kicking his legs and swinging the cane around. So get that in your head next time you hear the song, Some Folks.
Cool. And you know what's really sad is, too, I was really excited when they had the Welcome to My Nightmare 2 come out, and he worked with Ezra again, and it was just horrible. I mean, it's not, and they even tried it. Every song sounds like, Some Folks. There's a song that sounds like that. You know what I'm saying? He kind of went through. It's like we have the cookie cutter for this, and we're gonna make a song that kind of sounds like this. We're gonna have a song that kind of sounds like this, and it just doesn't. I had real high hopes for that album. The only one that I liked that he's come out in the last years is Along Came a Spider, and it was another one of those concept albums about a serial killer. And there's some pretty good songs on it. It's pretty decent, but the newer stuff kind of falls for me. I don't know. The old stuff's so good. Yeah, I'm just an old Alice fan, so old.
So the thing before we wrap up, the thing I like about Alice Cooper is in the last couple of years, he's really, you have all these rock stars that are out there telling people who to vote for and who you can't use their music for and all that bullshit. And Alice is, well, he did. I mean, so there's a I just saw the quote the other day again, which made me think about it. So in December 31st of 2018, he did an article on Loudwire. Or for Loudwire, and the quote that's in here is he talks about where did I shoot? I just had it. When musicians are telling people who to vote for, I think that's an abuse of power. You're telling your fans not to think for themselves, just to think like you. Rock and roll is about freedom, and that's not freedom. And right. I've always liked Alice, but when I saw that, it's like, finally an artist that gets it. I don't listen to you for your political views. I listen to you for the music.
Right.
And I don't give a shit what your political views are, just like you shouldn't care what mine are.
Right. Exactly. And the thing is, too, is Alice, too, is extremely religious. I mean, he's got, but the thing is, he doesn't sit there and spout and preach to you all the time. He'll talk about it if you ask him, but he's not one of those ones that's like going out and basically, my way is the only way. I'm going to, it's like, no, don't do that. Just just make music and shut your mouth. That's all. Bono.
And on that note, go to our Facebook page and tell us what your top 5 Alice Cooper picks are. You got it?
What did we miss?
What did we miss?
Well,
what do you think Dennis got wrong?
Nothing. Absolutely.
And on that note, people, agesofrock.com has all of our social media and all of that good stuff. Till next time, peace out.
Later.
Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.